Behold, Excalibur! 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 Yeah, I couldn't get this rock off of it, but it's still pretty cool, right?
Now that is a good late game villain. Big Jack Horner is a walking, I don't care about anyone's feelings. He is the living proof that great villains can still be made today. But the real problem nowadays? The big franchises are giving us villains with stupid motivations, stupid backstories, stupid redemption arcs, and suddenly all the villains need to be relatable. Yup, we are 100% wrong. Old villains had balls, but new villains? They suck but Why are new villains destroying the old franchise? Before we even talk about the late game villains, we have to thank the old generation. The villains who were so good, so iconic, so terrifying, that they basically set the standard for everyone that came after that. Okay, and before I start, I know that these weren't sequel villains, they weren't Part 4 additions, but they definitely deserve a place in this ranking. They were the OGs. Take Judge Claude Frollo. This man didn't need magic, lasers, or superpowers. He was terrifying because he believed he was right. The way he controlled Quasimodo, the way he justified cruelty with religion. That moment when he sang, "Be mine or you will burn!" I mean, it's like he was confessing to the devil himself. He felt so human, which actually made him even worse. Then there's Jafar, Disney's smooth-talking snake prince of manipulation. He didn't rush, he didn't scream. Everything he did was slow, calculated, and elegant. He hypnotized kings, betrayed allies, summoned storms, and grabbed power like it was his birthright. And when he transformed into that giant serpentine monster?
We'll see how snake-like I can be!
Yeah, about that, my childhood got ruined. And Hades? He is one of the rare villains who's hilarious and dangerous at the same time. He brought the comedic timing of a talk show host and the destruction plans of a world-ending tyrant. You laughed with him, but you also knew if you messed with him, you were getting roasted.
Aren't we forgetting one teensy-weensy but ever so crucial little tiny detail? I own you!
Yeah, literally. But the most important part? They're the foundation. They're the blueprint. They're the reason we know what a real villain looks like. They were the first movie villains, but instantly owned the whole franchise. And okay, I do have to admit something. Not every new villain is terrible. Some studios still know exactly what they're doing. The best proof of that sits inside Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, because that movie gave us two of the best modern villains we've seen in years, Death and Big Jack Horner. Death doesn't need a speech. Death doesn't need a tragic backstory. Death doesn't need a childhood flashback where he got bullied by a raccoon. Nope. He walks in, whistles, taps his sickles together, and instantly turns the entire movie into a horror film.
Speed up! Go!
You see what I mean? He's calm, he's precise, he moves like a predator who's already planned for a funeral. And the way Puss reacts to him? Pure shaking panic. That's what sells it. You know a villain is top tier when the hero looks like he wants to crawl under a table and sob quietly. Then you've got Big Jack Horner, who is basically the complete opposite. He's loud, messy, unhinged, petty, and absolutely done with everyone's feelings. He doesn't pretend to be deep or complex. He just wants power, fun, and chaos. He's the kind of villain who would shoot a puppy for fun. And weirdly, that honesty makes him hilarious. He enjoys being evil, and that makes the audience enjoy watching him. Death and Jack Horner prove something important. Modern animation can still make amazing villains. So when other franchises give us weak, confused, or watered-down villains, we know it's not because audiences changed, it's because the writing did. When a franchise hits its fourth movie, you expect the villain to be bigger, smarter, or at least more threatening than before. I mean, Kung Fu Panda started with Tai Lung, one of the coldest, rawest, most iconic villains in animated history. This dude escaped from a maximum security prison using nothing but his fists, feathers, chains, and pure rage. He was a villain so dangerous that the guards built the prison around him. Tai Lung didn't need to say much. His presence carried the entire movie. So when the Chameleon walked into Kung Fu Panda 4 as the new big bad, expectations were high. And then, well, things got weird. The Chameleon should have been incredible on paper. A shape-shifting sorceress? Cool. A master manipulator? Awesome. A villain who can copy past villains' abilities? Fantastic. But the problem with her? She has all the tools, but none of the weight. She has this great design, these new cool powers. Even the voice actor was perfect. I mean, this character had so much potential. But instead, they gave her zero personality. There is no backstory. The only story we get?
They would say I was too small, too lowly, and that Kung Fu was not my destiny.
Just too small to do Kung Fu. Okay. All right then. I mean, shouldn't every great Kung Fu Panda villain have an emotional tie to Po or his journey? Tai Lung represented destiny and expectation. Shen represented trauma in the past. Kai represented legacy and identity. She needed to be this epic master of sorcery, but instead, she is actually a sorcerer who doesn't do sorcerer. She really got screwed over by her lack of screen presence and pathetic excuse of a backstory. Her intro starts visually cool but falls flat emotionally quite quick. She pushes a random bear crime boss down the stairs. That was also immediately the only bad thing she did. Pushing someone from the stairs. Compare that to Tai Lung's escape scene, which instantly told us he's going to be a real problem. The moment a villain goes into a long monologue while the hero is tied up, you already know the writers are struggling. She does the classic, "Let me explain my entire weakness and plan" speech, like she's presenting a TED Talk titled, "How to Get Defeated in Under 10 Minutes." Because damn, she did. In 11 minutes to be exact. She tells Po she can copy forms but not strength. Why would you say that? Why give the hero the cheat code? Tai Lung didn't do that. Shen didn't do that. Kai didn't do that. Great villains hide their weaknesses. With her shape-shifting abilities, she could turn in any of the current characters and destroy them from the inside. How cool would that have been? It would have been dark, the right level of funny and introspective. Then she could have stolen the stick and brought back everybody. Then creating an even bigger mess of everyone versus everyone, and Po having to help them with their issues. Can you imagine how epic that would have been? When she steals the kung fu abilities from past villains, it should have been the coolest moment in the movie. Instead, it just reminds you, oh, right, these past villains were way better. She's a villain with no message, and following legends like Tai Lung, Shen, and Kai? Yeah, she never stood a chance. The Chameleon could be so interesting as a whole villain, but she lacked in writing. Nothing more than wasted potential. Okay, from one legendary franchise to another, the Minions. The Minions have always been one of those series that just works.
Oh?
It's loud, goofy, chaotic, and somehow has more personality than half the live-action movies nowadays. Despicable Me especially built a whole kingdom with Gru probably being one of the most lovable ex-supervillains. So you'd think with such fun worlds, the villains would be absolute bangers too, right? Well, nope. If Kung Fu Panda 4 gave us a villain who felt empty, And Despicable Me 4 gave us Maxime Le Mal. The Minions would have probably been a lot better if the villain knew how to villain. The movie builds her up like she's the world's very first female supervillain.
Scarlet Overkill! Evil! So evil.
Scarlet Overkill. So evil. Yep, she's supposed to be unstoppable like an ultra-powered queen of chaos. But the second she actually needs to do, some villain stuff, she's more busy playing around with her husband than genuinely being terrifying.
A little tighter, sweetie. Come on, I can take it. A little tighter. Tighter.
Okay, I need to admit, I love the way she actually loves Herb and isn't toxic. They invented power coupling. But her problem? She has charisma, she's stylish, loud, confident, dramatic, yes. But you know what? That's not enough as a villain. If your villain never follows through, all that style becomes pointless. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened with Scarlet. The movie wants to prove how legendary she is, how iconic she's supposed to be, but in reality, it only keeps telling us she's powerful but never lets her show it. The writers wanted her to be memorable, but Scarlet spends more time talking about being iconic than actually doing anything iconic. She's a perfect example of what happens when a villain is designed to look cool instead of being cool. Moving forward to 2024, where Despicable Me 4 gave us the one and only Maxime Le Mal. The big bad of this movie. And by big bad, I mean he's big and he's bad at being a villain. Yeah.
Insert card and remove rapidly. Card not red? Come on!
Did you pull it out rapidly?
Yes, very rapidly!
Well, at least the villains in this franchise tried to pay for their items before stealing. But the problem? This franchise used to know how to make memorable villains. I mean, remember Vector from the first movie? He is still iconic. He's goofy, he's annoying, he's smart enough to be dangerous, and he has an actual rivalry with Gru. Okay, he might not be everyone's top 10 antagonists, but he flies away with the moon thousands of feet high. Then you have El Macho, who has a massive purple minion army and becomes this giant beast to fight. And Brat? He has a giant mech and is terraforming Hollywood. But then came Maxime, who actually feels more like a parody of a villain, written by someone who has only ever seen evil characters in commercials. His intro tries to tell us he's the most evil villain ever. Keyword, tell. The movie keeps shouting, he's dangerous, he's terrifying. And then we watch him fail at everything. A good villain doesn't tell us he's evil. Does Death ever tell us he's evil? Nope, he shows it. My biggest problem isn't even that he's a bad villain, but that he's only in the movie for 5 seconds. He was actually just a side character. Maxime never actually challenges Gru. He's not smarter, stronger, or emotionally threatening. He's not even thematically important. He's just a loud guy with buggy bug powers. A good villain should either be scary, funny, or both. Maxime is neither. He gets beaten up by a baby, a literal baby. I mean, come on. You can't come back from that. He was just there to make some noise between minion scenes. Okay, now you know what hurts the most? Toy Story used to be the franchise that understood villains better than almost anyone. Like, these movies didn't give us one iconic villain. They gave us a whole lineup of nightmares wrapped in plastic and cotton. Think about it. Sid was the original toy serial killer. This kid burned toys for fun.
Where are your rebel friends now?
Your Pop-Tarts are ready!
Stinky Pete was the master manipulator. This dude sat in a box for decades, living in his own bitterness. He didn't need an army. He didn't need magic. All he needed was emotional damage and a pickaxe. And Lotso? Man, oh man. This warlord ran Sunnyside like he was Pablo Escobar in pink fur. He smiled, smelled like strawberries, and then tried to murder everyone in a garbage fire. So far, 3 for 3. Pixar was undefeated. And then came Gabby Gabby. And this is where the cracks actually started showing. Gabby Gabby wasn't the worst villain ever, but she sure as hell wasn't a good one either. She was the warm-up act for Pixar's new love affair with misunderstood antagonists who just need a hug. She didn't hate Woody, she didn't want power, she didn't even want destruction. She just wanted affection. Yep, she just wants love. And okay, it's maybe sweet, but that's not a villain. This was the first sign Pixar was getting soft. The Toy Story 5 teaser dropped this month. This was a big moment, and I swear every Toy Story fan aged 5 years instantly. Because the new villain, you know, the big bad of the entire movie, isn't a toy, or a child, or a collector, or a forgotten relic from Andy's room. Nope. It's a lily pad. A frickin' damn tablet. Man, I didn't know I needed a Toy Story with analog toys fighting a civil war against Wi-Fi devices, but here I am.
Thank you! Hi there, I'm Lilypad. Let's play!
This better not be leapfrog slander, or even like ChatGPT slander. Sid was scary because he represented destruction. Lotso was scary because he represented abandonment. Stinky Pete was scary because he represented bitterness and jealousy. What is the lily pad going to represent? How is this single tablet going to stop our cowboy Woody? Or is Woody turning into an iPad kid? How ironic is it, by the way, that Steve Jobs worked on the very first Toy Story movie, and now in this one, they're against one of his creations? Okay, to be honest, the lily pad doesn't look that bad. It looks nice and cute, and I'm confident that Froggy iPad cover is going to make them a ton of money. But I can definitely assume it's going to be one of those misunderstood types of villains. At least, if it even is going to be a villain, because it feels like it isn't. It doesn't feel like a Lotso or a Stinky Pete. The lily pad feels like a Toy Story 1 situation where this new thing is replacing the old toys. I was just hoping for a complete maniac, like Lotso. With the release of last week, Toy Story also announced that the lily pad's motive is having different beliefs on what's best for Bonnie over the other toys' beliefs. It actually reminds me of Inside Out, where Joy is forcing everything to be happy because they don't know what else to do, as well as the sequel where Anxiety is the bad guy for trying to be what's best for Riley too. But I assume that Lilypad will have more of a helicopter parent ideology on taking care of Bonnie, since technology toys are more associated with staying inside and not necessarily going outside. Is Lilypad going to be the next big evil, or will they redeem her at the end? They better not, because I'm ready to get blindsided by a cute Froggy being a villain bastard. Our OG villains used to be bold, dangerous, unhinged, and absolutely unforgettable. They pushed their heroes and they defined the franchise. Villains like Tai Lung and Lotso weren't afraid to go all in. Tai Lung was always willing to kill innocent people just for the scroll, and Lotso left the whole gang in the incinerator to burn in hell. And then we looked at today's villains, the Chameleon, who has every power in the universe, but no story. Maxime Le Mal, a cockroach-themed midlife crisis in a jumpsuit. And Lilypad. Well, what is she going to give us? We shall see. The real issue is, modern villains are getting softer while franchises are getting safer. Studios are terrified to make villains villains. Everyone needs to be relatable, redeemable, tragic, or misunderstood. But when your villain is no villain, it's probably just a matter of time that your franchise will slowly die. Will studios ever grow the courage to make truly evil villains again? Or are we stuck in an endless loop of iPad antagonists and therapy session endings? Are new villains ruining legendary franchises? Or are the studios just bad at writing one?